Okay, so again, welcome to Tammy Talk, and want to say hello and happy holidays. And I have my co-host Joe Easy.
Is that thing too close?
No, I'm good. It's talking about the microphone. Thank you. So yeah, I have my co-host Joe Easy, and it has been one of those days. Science kicking in. The air quality is cold out there. Baby is cold out there. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, love, leave your comments. Don't forget to follow me on uh, IG, also Spotify and Libsyn and Google for the podcast, Tammy Talk Podcast, and on Wix, where I blog, and that's my cup runneth over. So, getting into the holidays, various conversations have arrived with us. But first and foremost, do you know that eating your taking your vitamins, making sure you keep up with protein and your fiber, those are the top three as you age. Again, I'll say that again. Fiber is so important. Fiber, protein, and vitamins, along with your rest. I feel like it's this getting your proper rest, drinking your water, eating healthy, and exercising. So again, your key elements: drink that water, get replenished, learn to relax, learn to exercise. It could be something as simple as running up and down the stairs, um, doing squats while you're watching TV. Let's see. I would say go for a walk, but it is rather cold outside. If you're anything like me, suffering from sinus ache, stay out the air, not unless you cover up. But definitely keep up with your vitamins, your fiber, and your protein. So tonight's topic we're going to talk about is oh yeah, and with the water thing, with this being cold, make sure you let your spigot, as my mom would say, make sure you let your spigot drip. Okay, that water, leave a little drizzle on there. So we're going to talk about hard conversations. This is we're up for a debate for this tonight because we definitely disagree on this topic. So I had proposed to my co-host here, Joe Heasy, that when people argue, and in particular with us, if we have a disagreement, I'd rather agree to disagree, but I'm going to voice my opinion. We all have opinions, and it should be respected. And you should be able to voice your thoughts. Keep in mind, you're going to disagree. We can disagree to agree because you're not going to always agree on everything. That's first and foremost. But it's about communication, setting boundaries for us, respect, and listening to the other person, not just saying, okay, what I say is gold and is granted, but it's how you convey and deliver your differences. And you're not going to agree on everything, and I get that. So I lately have been saying I would like to be on the right side, the equal side, the right side of the equal sign. That's where I want to be. I don't want to argue. I'd rather be on the equal side. I want to be on the right side of the equal side. In other words, I want to find a solution. What can we do? How can we resolve this? And he had brought up everything's not resolvable. And I said, expound on what you mean. Everything's not going to be resolved. So here's my take on things. I had come up with the labeling things. I said, why we were watching something, and I said, why are women labeled like the black angry woman or the bossy Betty or here comes wilding out Wanda, or lashing out Larry, or sour Sandra, aggressive Annie. I guess I know you can follow where I'm going to. Why is there always a label, loudmouth Lucy, or this woman is too angry, or she's too hostile, that's Storm, or she's too masculine. And he was just saying that, like, how people depict their reputations. And me, I was saying a lot of times people assume they know what's going on in that person's life, and they don't give them a chance. And just because you don't agree doesn't mean you have to label someone. I'm thinking you can be rational, even get a mediator, let's talk about it, but try to come to the I guess, get a resolution, because if not, it's going to be ongoing. And this can be in a relationship, it can be in a work environment, it could be family oriented, whatever. You have to come to some kind of point where you're going to be adult enough to address it and keep it moving, not unless you want to continue to let it be an elephant in the room. Joe was saying that everything is not going to always be resolvable. You don't always have to make amends. Sometimes you have to let the brick hit, and that's where it is. Because the more you try to attempt to resolve it, it can muster or like stir the pot, and then more emotions explode, and you don't know everybody's breaking point. So while I'm trying to say let's resolve it and get it, and I can really be messing up with someone else like entering in their space. You want to speak on it?
No, you're doing good.
I'm doing good, thank you. And that's basically what I was saying, that where I kind of got off is where the name calling comes in. And I was saying, if the argument or the debate is with the man or a woman, I just noticed that a lot of times the men come on and say, oh, she's too angry, she's too toxic, she's too this, she's too masculine, she's too independent. And I was telling him, well, basically, you don't know what people bring to the party. That could be in a relationship, work relationship, whatever. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know their triggers. You don't understand like prior issues they may have coming up as children that's in their adulthood, or prior issues in their adulthood that they're still carrying around. It could be the single woman syndrome, where they have to take care of the kids. They're the household. They take care of the household. They have to go out and work, and when they come home, they got to tend to the kids and do homework, and deal with everything that's gone on for the day, including their issues they may have had for the day. They got to sort through the bills and see what bills they're going to have. Some people work a job and a part-time job, so you now you're talking about time. They don't have any time, so where everyone's keying in saying that you should include self-help. Get a green plant, get a candle, journal, read a book, go out and exercise. These are limitations to some people that have no outlet to do that, because they simply don't have any help. They are gunning this all by themselves. So when are they going to take time out? A lot of times, even if you go to therapy, they'll tell you that's mandatory. That's your priority. That's your accountability, to cut out time for yourself. But not a lot of us do that. We seem to go in the survival mode, which means we're on overload. We are really a train wreck waiting to happen, because we have not cut out time for ourselves. So therefore, we're running on adrenaline until somebody else notices that we have issues, and saying, okay, that's where the labeling come in. Your conduct or your behavior is unbecoming. And no, I don't want to make up, or I don't want to have anything else to do with you. I'm going to cancel you off. I'm going to delete you. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And everyone has their right, because like I say, we're not going to always agree to disagree. But before you start labeling someone or making assumptions, just take time to adhere. This person could really be on their last string, or it could be a lot that they're going through. I had brought up an issue saying that a lot of times single women are overstimulated. Sometimes we get called, well, she's so loud, or she's so aggressive. Think about how that person was brought up. Maybe they in their family unit, they saw strong women, aggressive women, alpha women, and okay,
So,
and he was coming along one.
So you saying in a disagreement, and if the woman is perceived to be taking it too far,
Mm-hmm.
be a mouth and all this hands shaking and threats, that the person
Now, if it's threats, that's something totally different.
The person on the other side should take time during this confrontation and say to themselves, while they being bashed or fussed at by the other person, oh, that person going through some things, so I need to take that in consideration. Who in the heck does that?
Not many, but I'm just saying, this is what I was saying, that when we got to get better at it. That's all I'm saying. Like you were saying, that you have to be accountable for your actions and your behavior. And I agree with that. But in the moment, do you ever stop to think, while this person is just, like you say, going off the hand and neck and da 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 da? I don't know about the threatening thing, but I'm just.
It should be up to the individual who's in this confrontation that either antagonizing it or making it out to more than what it is. They need to step back.
Okay, so we have different scenarios.
Self-accountable.
Right. We have several scenarios. We have some that are employees and then some that are leaders. And some I have heard from working, some people say, oh, that person is very aggressive. This person is the bossy Betty. Then you have some people that wants to be a team player. And if you don't, then you're considered not a team player. And then we go into the labeling. Oh, that's an aggressive person. Oh, that's all. She's always that angry Black person, riling out person. This, and I'm like, before you get to name calling and labeling, have you ever stopped? Because that's just going to escalate the argument. So where do we get to the part where we have to be accountable for our behavior if you're steady going like this and no one's listening? When you're arguing, that means no one is listening. No one's listening. So you drop the ball there. I'm a firm believer that you definitely need a mediator, because when it has gotten to the point that two people can't communicate, you need to bring a mediator in. But in the meanwhile, if you don't, what happens when you don't have the mediator? And you got two grown people going back and forth and no one's listening. Your communication is off, and now we're hitting below the belt, meaning we're labeling each other. And I just think a lot of women get heat by being called the angry Black woman, the aggressive Black woman, or she's an alpha, or, now they're saying, oh, she's too masculine. Let me tell you something. Be careful going out there saying, I'm the boss, I secure the bag, I got it going on, I don't need a man for this, I'm independent, because you have people that sit back and watch your talk and your walk, and if it's not in alignment, then you say, well, why is this person not doing that? Why is it? Remember, you said, I'm the boss, I secure the bag, I don't need this person for this, that, and the other. So you throw it out there. This person just comes along and just going to say, okay, didn't you say that you're the boss? You got this. Why do I need to act on anything? This is what you're getting. You sold that. This is what you declared. This is what you threw out there. The other thing is, I've noticed, say, for example, when people get jobs in upper management, upper leadership, when they come home, take that off at the door. Take that hat off at the door, because that brings in toxicity. It does. Because a lot of times, and I've heard it from men and women, they don't know how to talk to me when I'm home. They act like I'm their employee. And a lot of times they don't know when to cut it off.
Well, what about an employee that come in here and treat you like you their boss?
I said that, whether it be the person up in upper management or their employee. That's why I said leave it at the door. Leave it at the door. And a lot of people don't know how to shut that off. A lot of women, I do hear say, I'm the boss and I secure the bag, I can't find a man. It's not that you can't find a man. It's that you've thrown it out there saying that you don't need a man. I think you should be careful and cautious in what you're saying, I do want a man. However, slim picking, but just watch what you're offering or soliciting out there. Because when you say, I got this, I got that, sometimes it intimidates people, and other times it makes people appear that you're not approachable. So I always say what you mean and mean what you say, because people are listening and they pick and choose. They have selective hearing, and it makes you look like the person with the problem. I'm just saying. Another thing is, women are overstimulated, whether they want to say it or admit to it or not. Sometimes they have this facade up, and they don't want to share what they're going through internally. But you could tell by their emotions, what they're going through and their behavior. They're overstimulated. They have a lot on their plate. They don't have an outlet, someone to help. They lack downtime. So then if you have all this going on inside, it's going to come up. It's going to erupt, and it's going to be offensive. Like I go back to and say, some people have had growing up, alpha women. I just remember growing up in my mom's era, like she always say, women didn't have a lot of opportunities. They weren't afforded opportunities to work outside the house. Very slim. Most of the time, like your husband worked, the wife stayed home with the kids. The man brought home the bacon. The wife was meant to cook, clean, and keep the kids. Those were her activities. Nowadays, women can work outside the house. A lot of them are leading households. So
that was for the women that had husbands. And you had women back then that had to work. Low paying jobs, but they had to work. They didn't have a husband to help or take on full responsibility.
Right.
My mom worked 2 jobs.
Okay.
So she wasn't one of those women that had someone to help her.
Right. So that's why I was saying my mom, who basically stayed home, and as we got older, wanted to work outside. She really did want to work outside the house. And
she had a husband.
Right. I was going to say that, but she had my dad to lean on. So what I'm saying, how she explained it to me, not all women had that.
What men was expected to do back then.
Right. But nowadays, women, they have much more opportunities. They can go to school. They can go to work. They can work outside the house. They can run the house. Like I said, a lot of women would argue and say the point, I don't need a man. They're even saying things like, most women get a man to validate them. I don't need a man to validate me. I'm just saying things that I've heard. Times have changed. So yes, women are afforded more opportunities now. But also with that being said, we got a lot of problems. And too much is given, much is expected. So, pick your battles. And I remember growing up, I used to always watch, and I can especially say, I was telling Joe this, sharing with him, in high school, everyone was sexually active, but what I noticed, the white girls always had engagement rings, but I only knew 2 black girls that had engagement rings. I'll say that again. Majority of the white girls had engagement rings, and I only knew 2 black girls that had engagement rings.
What was this in high school?
This was in high school, but in college, I noticed the same thing. Yeah. And
in high school, engagement rings?
Yeah, but check this out. But they were sexually active, both black and white. So when we got to college, I noticed the same thing.
You get a whole bunch of girl crackerjack engagement rings.
Nope.
In high school, if they sexually active.
Okay, so in college, I noticed the same thing. There were majority of the white girls, wedding rings.
Guys, you're gonna take
black girls
in high school
because and even in corporate America, most of the women were married, and there was white, and then there were a few black women that were married. But what I noticed from high school, college, and corporate America, majority of the black women were baby mamas. That used to get to me. I'm like, why is it that I know more baby mamas being black than white? Do we settle, or do we not be given the same option?
It's a choice.
Yeah, it is a choice, and that's why I was saying. But why is it that the majority of baby mamas, when I was coming up, started from high school, college, and corporate America, I noticed more baby mamas were black than white. And again, it's choices, like you say, and this is coming straight from you, like you say, we have choices, but why did we choose? And then I listen to women now who say, well, married women try to make it.
I got to intervene.
Okay, well, go ahead and interject. Go ahead.
What you just said, why did the black women choose to,
become a baby mama? Someone probably didn't get the option.
Become a baby mama. Now, again, in high school, wasn't no guys trying to be serious. All they was trying to do was get the women's with an S.
Okay.
And once they got them and then they get pregnant, they go on to the next one. So then these women was forced to become, I don't need no man, after going through whatever they went through with a particular man
Right.
who promised them, that you look good, you gonna be my girl.
Exactly. I'll be there for you.
And then her girlfriend or somebody else like him, and he goes to her. But in the meantime, she stuck with a baby with him, who she, thought that women are internal. They bring their emotions in a different way. Guys ain't bringing their emotions with long-term emotions in no high school. So then they get stuck with kids, and then they become
this bitter Betty,
this bitter
woman,
whoever, disgruntled, or like men call a psychopath, or whatever.
The labeling, see the labeling.
Whatever it is,
and that's why I say
call it what you want it, but it is what it is. Back then, if you put yourself in a situation like that, you get stuck with the baby. Then, lo and behold, don't say you got to bring it home to your parents to raise or your grandparents to raise.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole nother thing.
You made a decision to have a kid by someone who is not serious.
Right. So that's why we're saying that a lot of women have baggage. They have I noticed this, a lot of they have layers of hurt. But it's not just on them. Like you say, women have choices. Men have choices too.
Yeah, the men had choices too, and they chose
not to.
They chose to be a predator. And what a predator is look out and seek out a weak person.
Well,
who's going to fall for their crap.
Okay.
And what they do, girls young like that, trying to get a boyfriend, and probably is the popular guy in school.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do, they levitate towards bad boys, or who the boys in the school who are athletes.
Okay.
And then get pregnant by them. Then wondering why they ain't there. After he done promised her, then he leave her with a baby. He ain't had no job from the beginning. So why are you gonna have a baby with a dude in high school who can't even buy his own lunch?
Right. I'm just throwing things out there that I noticed, and when I hear women have conversations, and they, like you say, they were like, "No, I don't ever want to get in a relationship again. I don't want to be married ever." Because like you say, I've already been through this, that, and the other. So they have battle wounds. They have scars.
Their honesty for their love at that time for a young boy who they thought would love them back.
Right.
It's been trampled on. A lot of people is not going to let you do the same thing to them twice, 2 or 3 times.
And that's where my point was coming at. They were saying being in a relationship is too risky. And I'm like, risky? They were like, yeah, it's risky financially.
You're going to be in a relationship.
Or risky emotionally.
You don't live on this earth by yourself. So
right.
You're going to be in a relationship, whether it's a man with a woman or a woman with a woman.
But the thing they were saying, a lot of women are like, I'd rather be solo. And I just don't think that's true. I think that's with a facade, or they putting up a guard because they don't want to be hurt again.
That's unrealistic. You can be solo all you want to. But people have
desires to be with someone,
to be with someone,
to be in a relationship,
or
to be with that special someone.
Yeah,
they do. That's why we're saying I don't believe
that comes with time.
Right. I don't believe that Black women settled or made a choice to be a baby mama. I do believe they wanted to be a wife in a relationship. They did not choose. They did not go out here and say, I'm going to be a baby mama today.
End up in an accidental relationship.
Exactly. So when you goes back to my point, when you hear like this escalation in arguments, it's not what's wrong with her. It's what happened to her. It's a cry. It's actually a cry for help that this is displaced aggression. Something else has gone on and happened. And you're venting or taking it out on the wrong person. It's just all the emotions coming out at this time.
Well, they haven't been taught how to deal with
their emotions. That's what I'm saying.
Relationship, or how to deal with other people, and like you say, it could be a factor of their previous environment.
Exactly. Getting to why
That goes for both men and women.
I was going to say it's not gender discriminatory. It's not discriminatory. It can be both men and women. It like I hear when men say, "Well, she's too masculine for me." So I don't know which way. And I'm not just talking about you. I'm just talking about men in general. Which way do you want it? Because you also hear men say, "I want an independent chick. I want a woman that can do this, can boss up,
First of all,
have her own place, have her own car."
Chick, you need to watch out right there.
Well, okay, but I'm just saying, when they say, "I want my woman to have," or the other person, the significant other, to bring this to the table, that to the table, then when they do, it's like, "Oh, you're too masculine. You don't know how to be feminine. You're not soft. I want a soft woman." You have soft women that have all that. What I am saying, that not all women are looking for a relationship. No longer. Those days are like almost long gone. They're now saying, being selective and say, "I can go out with you. That does not mean I want to have a relationship with you. I can be intimate with you. Does not mean you coming home to meet my kids or meet my parents, meet my mom, meet my goldfish, my dog, or the bird."
This is still considered a relationship, even if it's for 30 seconds.
That's
a relationship.
It is a relationship, but it's not title exclusive, or it could be platonic. Some people can keep it platonic because there are really no trans. And I'm a piggyback on that, because I do think it's got to be some kind of emotions or feelings. But you hear people say, "Nope, it's platonic, no emotion, didn't hear bells and whistles, nothing. It was like going out for a cup of coffee." I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know, because theoretically it's just different scenarios.
He was mighty into it for somebody that don't know.
I don't. I just did not know why people label. That's what got me at the juggler thing. Because that person act like that, they're aggressive. Because that person stood up for themselves and used their voice. Oh, they're that bossy Betty, wilding out Wanda, loud Larry. People.
At least 75% of the time, you know that person, that type of person mentality when you hook up with them. Unless the other 25%, they hide it until you get with them. And then
some people do that. Some people are chameleons.
So, and I mean, it is what it is. You either work through that or you don't. You either figure out that's what you want, or you figure after getting into it, it's not what you want.
And that's what I was going. That my other bullet point. You all have options. Instead of sitting there berating someone, like I remember when Tony Braxton, or being miserable. Remember when Tony Braxton had that song, "He Wasn't Man Enough for Me"? No. But my thing is, why you want to berate people? And it could be man or woman. You have the option of stating, "I don't want to deal with this. It's nothing wrong with you. It's me. This is what I don't want to do. This is what I choose." Like you said, you have choices. This is what I choose not to do. And don't take it personal. It's nothing wrong. This is not a fit for me. This is not something I want to pursue. And that's it.
You better be very, very careful, because you might be the elephant under the rug.
Because some people can't take rejections or no. Some people can't. No is a turnoff or a trigger for them. Again, you don't know what people have gone through or dealt with in their childhood. You don't know what the prior relationship has done to them. So you do have to be selective. You do need to err in caution. But I do really horn in when people.
I suggest you make a person fill out a resume, and then you do a background check.
That's nothing wrong with that.
As far as checking their credit, because this is how stuff's getting to be. You either, find your way of airing out their problems prior to getting into a relationship.
So when you have those,
don't live with the person. Just let that person live where they live. You live where you live. You go out. The quicker way to find out how a person is to live with them.
some people don't want to take that risk. Remember, I just said some people don't want to risk that financially or emotionally. They have been hurt before, and they just choose not to do that.
The word is some. I was speaking to the ones that did.
Okay, so when you have that hard conversation, is what I'm saying. You don't have to have a relationship for that. You don't have to move in with anyone to have that. When you're having that hard conversation, whether it be at work.
What are you trying to tell people what to do now?
No, whether it be at work or it could be in a relationship. Do you continue to, do you de-escalate it? Do you just simmer down and let the other person have their say, and then you listen to key points and then regurgitate it back? Or do you just whatever the argument is about, whatever made that person upset, you just listen?
You know, a lot of times arguments start and you don't even remember what the heck was about when you finished. Right. So that again, I just gave the scenario, whether you're on the job or you're out in significant other, when a heated, hard conversation, argument, when it begins to the end, do you just go head to head with it? Do you stop? You're going to have an argument with me anyway. When the heck did I become a significant other?
No, I'm saying it can be, because not all people are married.
That would be an argument.
Yeah, not all people are married. So that's what I'm saying. When it's different scenarios, I said. So I'm focusing on when you have the differences, how do you respond? Do you react? Do you respond? Do you try to diffuse it? Or do you like just hit it head on? Do you walk away? Do you say for the next day? Do you continue to have that I don't care attitude? And I'm not talking the silent treatment. That's another thing. The silent treatment could be a good thing because you want to diffuse and you're not trying to keep it going. Like, good morning, or, this is a new day. Let's start off fresh. Or I'm not speaking because I'm still pissed off from yesterday.
If that's what it is, that's what it is. Because I can't tell you when you feel like talking. You can't tell me when I feel like talking.
Right. So that's why I was saying, is the silent treatment. Are you using it for manipulation? Because it is manipulation. Are you using it as a tactic to diffuse and say, you know what? Let me let this person calm down because they went all the way up. And it may not be no getting them off the ledge. I'm gonna have to let them walk this down by themselves.
Yeah, well.
So I'd like to be, like I say, on the right side of the equal sign.
You want to be on both sides.
I do not want to label anyone, but I do try to
let me say this. If I choose to not be bothered, that's the choice I made as a grown man.
That's a good point.
And if you don't like it, then that's your problem, your issue. And I've already made my decision as to how far I'm going to let this go with me.
Okay.
Because I'm not wasting my time. If I feel as though it's a dead-end conversation, that's exactly what it is, a dead-end conversation. I'm not going to go back and forth. I'm not even going to let you or no one else
drag it.
Yeah,
pull you back in.
Draw me back in,
right.
Or get me to do what they want me to, because a lot of times arguments is what another person want to draw up out of you.
Right.
You ain't got that power over me, and I ain't even got that power over me, so I'm not even going to waste my time.
Right.
So you can waste your time all you want.
Exactly. And that's why I was saying, do you try to diffuse it or just get on it? Now, check this out.
I didn't answer your question.
Yeah, you did. That's why I was saying, check this out. A lot of people think being silent.
I can say it again now.
Yeah, being silent is a way of dealing with it, but they also think being silent is a way of manipulating a situation. I just think when it comes to grown people, the older you get, you should gain some wisdom. So at something like pre-K, I can get it, but the older you get, we do get stuck in our ways. We do.
So you saying that if a person gets silent, that's a problem to you?
No, I said, when you're arguing, do you become silent?
Because
so
you can't argue by yourself.
Right. So that's what I was saying. Do you allow the other person to get it out, or do you meet their energy? Do you meet their energy, and then that way you both drop the ball because no one's listening? That's what I said. Do you meet their energy, or do you become the one to say, okay, I'm gonna be silent. I'm gonna let you go ahead and say everything you say, but at the same time, When is it fair to label somebody and say, "Oh, they're aggressive,
You jump from one
they're
thing to
alpha, they're alpha this, that, and the other"? Why can't the argument? No, I'm not. I'm going this with this.
When you,
So while you're supposed to be listening,
creating your stew.
right? The whole thing, the scenario. Where does the labeling? Why can't people be reactory and not be labeled? You don't have to throw the labels in. This person is actually explaining how they feel, and all you can sit up and think, I'm not messing with that person. They're crazy, or they're alpha. And alpha doesn't have to be a female. Keep that in mind. You have alpha men, but you don't know how a person was raised. It goes back to that person may have been raised in the house to be an alpha male or alpha female, a strong woman or a strong man. A lot of their DNA, their characteristics come from their upbringing. And if in your house this is how you were taught to act, then they will find nothing wrong with it. It's the normalcy. So that's why I was saying the scenarios can go whether you're at work or whether you're at home, interacting with people. The behavior, your behavior is your accountability. You have to be responsible in how you interact with people. The labeling, I'm just done with. It bothers me a lot when I hear people say that this person is aggressive.
A perfect argumentative world, then
there is no perfect world.
That's the thing. Right
there is no perfect world.
Okay, so you're not going to have a perfect argument.
Right. But there is always a beginning and there's always an end to an argument. It's how you end it.
Not responding or not saying nothing to me.
So that's why I say we can all agree to disagree. You have your way of dealing with.
You ain't got to agree on nothing.
Right. We can all agree to disagree.
You get to argue, or whoever get to argue with me, and I just don't have nothing else to say because I know what it's going to be after that.
Right.
And I ain't got nothing to say. So you can label it as agree to disagree.
That's what I said.
If you want to.
Yes.
You can label it like you want. I'm not going to be bothered with it.
Right. So that's why I was saying
my time is valuable.
Getting to that point, that's something you can't take back. That is a commodity. So why would you waste your time continuing in a heated or a dead-end argument conversation where it's not going anywhere? If you're not trying to resolve it, I say take the road of being solid and dismiss yourself. It is what it is. Just delete the labeling. Everyone is not an angry Black woman, a bossy Betty, a loudmouth Lucy. It's just we don't agree. It's called conflict resolution. That's all I've been trying to say. Conflict resolution. That's why I think sometimes people need mediators. If everyone doesn't agree with mediation, you have people that say, well, I said what I said. I said what I said, and I'm standing on that. Then the next day, they go into the silent treatment. It goes for the next day, for months, for weeks, for years. To me, that's bad behavior, but that's a protective mechanism. I've heard women say, I choose to stand like this because I have triggers. And if this person say one more thing to me, or if this person does one more thing to me, and I've seen it on the job, I've seen it in families, and okay, so we're going to respect your boundaries. We know you have triggers. The thing of it is, when do you stop and go get self-help? That person that have all these triggers, when do you stop? When do you take accountability and get the self-help?
A person who thinks that is not a problem won't get self-help.
Because I'll tell you one thing. If you work on a job and you continue with that attitude, you won't go far. You will not go far. And that raise or that next promotion you think you're going to get, you're going to be labeled as a person no one wants to work with, nobody wants to tolerate you. You have your reputation precedes you. So that's why we're saying it's important whether you are, if it's mano to mano, as far as a personal relationship, a job relationship, it does affect you. It does have its, like they say, your reputation precedes you. So for me, I'd rather be, and I'm not afraid to use my voice. I've been on both sides. I can be Tammy the Terminator, or I could be Tammy. I'm time out. I'm not going to go there. But I have learned.
Labeled yourself.
I know, but I've learned. I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of doing. As you get, no, it's, and I didn't. Okay. I say I can be. I don't choose to use those labels. That's what this whole thing is about. Okay. How do you handle relationships, hard conversations without labeling yourself? So no, I don't. I no longer label myself. What I choose to do is be accountable, and I would like to get things resolved. If it cannot be resolved, then I can walk away knowing I've done my best. I've given it my all.
That's all you can do.
Right. And what I don't understand,
nobody to respond to you.
You can't. And that's why I was saying the older you get comes wisdom. But also the older you get, we get in our own way, meaning we mold ourselves, and this is how we do. I've been doing it this long. I'm this old, and I have the right to do it this way. Okay, so that granted for that. But when I hear men say, well, these women nowadays, they're too masculine. They're not soft. They got problems. I don't know what's wrong with her. And I'm like, a lot of times, have you ever stopped to inquire what happened? Do you really care?
Repeated this about 5 times.
Yeah, because do you really care? Do the guy really care? No. Unconditional love is one thing. Unconditional love means somebody really cares.
Did they care about getting them pregnant when they was younger?
No. But
like you said, and I said, relationships is the quality of a relationship is based on time and experience. And you experience a lot of stuff prior to being in a marriage or a committed relationship, whether you're married or not. But you also have more experience after that you have to go to. Whether you learn from your experience or not. If you don't learn from your experience, then you're going to continue to be
a
repeater of your own nature.
Right. So, which brings me to the point, with every relationship or you go through,
bring you to these points.
You should have learned something by now. And like he goes back to say, if you haven't learned, you're going to repeat it. So a lot of times where we like to put it on the blame on other people, some of us.
Well, you're gonna destine.
It's easy to blame the other person.
You're gonna destine to repeat it, but you also gonna keep being your own victim.
Right. And that's why I say
stumbling over your own self.
That's the blame game. When you blame everything on blame it on the other person, then you become the victim. Like it's not me, it's them. They did this, they did that. So what have you learned about what they did? What have you learned? So that way you won't be victimized again.
What they did, what about what you do? That was a two-way street.
Right, but these are the people that like to blame everyone, honey. That's what I'm saying. Like you said, you'll be victimized. They like being the victim. That looks good,
Hold up. My name is Joe Heasy.
Oh, not honey. Okay, Joe Heasy. Okay. So I'm sorry, Joe Heasy. So with that being said,
that's my label.
It is easy to fall into the trap of being a victim. It is easy to be victimized, but like you say, if you haven't learned, then you're not going to be victorious over anything. You're going to continue to play the blame game and be victim. You would want to be victorious and triumphant, meaning you've overcame something. If you learned something and you're equipped, you're better equipped to deal with hot topics, hard conversations, keeping your temper, not letting someone be the barometer and push your buttons. They shouldn't be the remote control and say, well, they made me get like this. No one made you do anything. And people only do to you what you allow them to do. Meaning,
how is that true?
Like it goes back to what you're saying. People in high school. When I said high school, I knew a lot of people that were Black women that were baby mamas, and you were saying they had the choice. And I said some people actually were in love and thought this person was going to be there.
That's what I was saying all along.
And that's what I said. You said people have choice. So instead of playing the blame game and becoming the victim, you now have to have time to sit with yourself and replay it and rewind and say,
And
what did I do?
And deal with that baby.
And what did I do? Take the accountability, grow up, deal with your beauty marks, your beauty scars, and keep on. Because as long as you keep your heart open, there's opportunities.
Downtown so he can get paid child support that he don't have money to, didn't lose his driver's license, and he won't get no job at all, and he won't be able to work, period, once he have a record.
That's how the system is set up.
That's a choice he made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're right. That's
yeah.
He already know that though.
Right.
Nothing that he don't know. He already know the process.
So that's what I'm saying. It's getting to the point now with these hard conversations. Men are like intimidated. I'll say that. Some of them will say they're intimidated to talk to an aggressive woman or assertive woman or like the boss women because they got it all, this, that, and the other. That's not true. And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of women that would like to be in relationships. It's a lot of women that want to be in relationships. But if the men sit around and say, well, I'm intimidated by her, or she's too aggressive and she's too masculine, I need someone that's soft. And I don't understand. There are soft women out there. But then you flip the coin, they're the ones that get used or abused, or like you say, get stuck with a baby and they're foolish for falling in love, this, that, and the other. They didn't fact check. They didn't fact check the inventory. They just jumped right in. But again, it's a two-sided coin. You just got to pick and choose and roll with what the consequences are. And a lot of that has to do with how you are made, how you, like Chevy Ford. What's that, Hemi? You got to be Ford tough out here. You do. You got to be Ford tough. If you don't,
watch using them quotes.
It's gonna backfire on you. So when you are in those heated conversations, keep in mind you don't have to go word for word. You don't have to deflect. No one's saying deflect. No one's saying being silent and being manipulative with that. You can be silent to listen and to hear and get what that other person is saying if you really care. If you choose not to ever deal with that person again, that's your prerogative. You do have choices. You have that option. At the same time, use your words, use your voice to let someone know how you're feeling. Don't hold it inside, because you holding things inside is only going to be masquerading and because when the next person comes, you might light them up and it wasn't even intended for them. I think learning how to have the art of conversation and communication is key. It's like with anything else, working, going to school, being in a relationship, skill sets. So you understand that talking, communicating is part of a relationship.
First of all, ma'am, you have to master yourself and master what comes out of your mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So if you master yourself, that means that you know who you are before you get in these situations. And then you master what your mind wants you to say out your mouth.
This is true.
It's true to me. I don't care what you think.
I'm not saying that. I'm
saying that. That's what I'm saying. And also, if you know of a person who has that type of tendencies, they know that they are explosive. So they need to find some way to get counseling for themselves.
I was only going to say, I just said.
You've been saying that.
Right. If it's in their DNA, they think it's normal. They don't think anything is wrong with that.
But that's been said too.
Right. So right. I'm glad you acknowledged that. So instead of saying,
I'm acknowledging.
Yeah, I'm just saying, instead of saying,
so now you're trying to tell me that you're glad that I'm keeping up.
No, and I'm just saying.
That's what I'm thinking.
No, I'm just saying. In conclusion,
this is what arguments start over.
It does.
Is what I'm thinking.
What you hear.
What you saying.
Exactly.
So when you tell me something, my transmitter is actually sending it through my circuitry and is getting short circuit.
And it goes.
That's what I'm hearing.
And that's what I was saying. Are you listening? Do you comprehend what the other person is saying? Because, like you said, a lot of times people argue, and they don't even know what they argued about. They don't. They try to go back.
They already got set in their mind
what they heard,
what the outcome of this argument is going to be.
Right, or what they heard you say. And if you're actually not listening, put it like this. Sometimes it's okay to ask that person, did you just really, let me just repeat what you said. I want to make sure I heard what you said.
There's a book out there called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Yep, and
what was that book?
It's going to be like that forever.
No, what was that book about? The communication between man and woman. Right.
And this is a forever saga. It's a debate that's going to be forever. And women are going to have their stance, men are going to have their stance. What I've just noticed, getting older, it's just, I hear, more Black women, they're like the angry Black woman.
It's a blessing if you got a hearing aid, because you can cut it on and off.
No, I'm just saying, I don't have a hearing aid, but that's what you hear. That's what you get. That's what gets thrown in you. That thrown to you. Black women. They are angry Black women. They're so aggressive. They're so masculine. They used to be soft. Look at everything from our time. Our mothers were here till now when we're growing up. What we had to deal with. Sometimes I look back and say, well, my mom had it good being able to stay at home and raise the 3 kids and let my father go out and work, because she didn't have to contend with a lot of this stuff that women are now. I look at them now, they got to run household, they got to run to work, they have the whole gambit. They don't.
My mother did that back in the days. Back in the 60s, she was doing that.
Yeah.
That's not nothing new.
No, but they have a lot, because now mothers have to take their kids to school, pick them up, go to work.
So how did we get to school? Wasn't no Uber.
I don't know how you got to school. My father took me to school.
We're not talking about that. You was talking about now women have to work and all that. They was doing it then.
Yeah, but
you was lucky to be in a parent house where there was a mother and a father.
Right. I was said that. I said a lot of these women.
The other part.
No, I said a lot of women are doing this solo. They have to be the one.
And I'm saying this to you. My mother did it for years.
Right. They have to drop their kids off, pick them up, pay for after school care. We didn't have after school care back in the 60s. Your mother watched you. They didn't offer that in school.
Didn't watch. My mother was working.
But they didn't offer after school care at schools back in the 60s. That was not.
That's because your grandmother would watch you.
Exactly. A family member. Right. So that's what I'm saying. Nowadays,
and more women again worked 2 jobs when I was growing up.
So now more women are out of the house working, but they have a whole list of things they have to do compared to what our mom's list was like this. Our mom's list was like this. Their list is like this. Some of them are trying to go to work and go to school.
You can only speak on what you went through.
No, I'm just saying women now.
Speak on what you went through.
No, women now. I'm looking at the list. It's much greater than what our parents, our mothers had to go through.
No, don't say our mothers. My mother went through something totally different than your mother went through.
No, I'm saying the list, what a woman deals with on a daily, is much different than what my mother had to deal with. When my mother was coming up dealing with us 3, it was getting the house clean, keeping us clean, that kind of stuff. Now women are working outside the house, going to school. They have to drop the kids off. They have to pick them up.
Why I shut down this conversation to me, it's not going anywhere.
Right. So
you keep saying you are speaking on what went wrong on in your house.
No, I said women, their list have gotten longer. Like, for example, there was no after school care. So now, like you said, they either went home to their grandmother or a family member. A lot of people don't have that. So your schools are now offering after school care. So now you got to pick these kids up for after school. Then you have to get them enrolled in some after school care activities and things of that sort. You got to help with homework. They didn't have computers back then. So now everybody's kids in front of a computer, and you got to check with them.
And get it all wrong.
Yeah, so now you got to go around and check for their homeworks or watch them do remote learning. That thing, that's an extra task. So that's why I say a lot of women are on overload. And so when it comes to conversation, they're going straight for the jugular vein because they are overstimulated. And instead, like you said, a lot of them need to take time to deflect, go to therapy, things of that sort. They don't do that, but then they're going to blame someone else for the offense they take to them, or having these hard conversations and being explosive and saying, "Wait a minute, I need to draw back and see where I dropped the ball. What's going on with me? What are my triggers today? What am I feeling? Why did I react like that?" That's the conversation one need to be having with themselves. And it's okay if you go and apologize to a person, say, you know what?
One of the words is, like you said, is triggers. It can be a whole lot of triggers. Somebody probably didn't pay a bill. Somebody didn't discuss anything about a bill. Didn't discuss something of what they want to do with the kid. If the kid was going here, there, as a parent, or they didn't discuss that. It could be a lot of stuff, or he forgot or she forgot to pay on something. So it could be a lot of daggone triggers. So I'm not gonna say it is what it is, because it's not like it should not be like that.
Right. So I just think we make things more complicated when we don't communicate. And like I was going to say, it's okay if you step back and say, you know what? It's all on me. I'm sorry. I did that. That's me. It was me.
Well, if it is, you should. The person should apologize if it's on them.
Yep.
That's called being an adult.
Right. It's nothing wrong with owning that and saying, I apologize. Put that blame on me.
I'm glad you did. Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that. But it's the truth. A lot of times we don't want to apologize.
I'm recording this.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't want to take ownership of the things that we've said or done, or hitting below the belt.
A lot of times the person is not used to somebody calling them out.
Yeah, but the friction of calling somebody out can be combative. Yeah. So why be combative when it's so easy to say, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I said that. I picked the wrong day to argue with you. Can we do this tomorrow?" No, I'm just saying, can we get past this and move on? You don't have to be friends or anything like that. You don't have to say, "Let's go out for lunch tomorrow," or anything like that.
Why not?
If you're in a relationship, you would want to mend. But I'm just saying, if it's a work, because just keep in mind, like you used to be a supervisor, and how do you deal with?
This is how I would say it. Look, first of all, I'm in this relationship for a long term. I don't feel like going through this. I know the results. I know the outcome. If I and her choose to take this to another level, so what do I have to do to make this better? Sometimes you might have to back off and let the other person calm down, cool down, or think about what they say.
Exactly.
And you have to do the same thing in order for you not to have something that goes on to the degree that will cause a lot of dissension, problems under the same roof. Because I've been in this situation before. I'm not coming in a house after an argument, and as soon as I touch the doorknob, you can feel the electricity from the doorknob, because you know what you're getting ready to walk into.
Yeah. So, like I say, don't be too proud that you can't say "I'm sorry." Learn to pick and choose your battles, because it's going to be, as long as you're living, you're going to have enough. You're going to have a lot of obstacles, but you don't have to actually pick them. Go out and go look for trouble is what I'm saying. When it comes to having those tough conversations, whether it be at work, whether it be in a relationship, just err to caution. I just think you should just listen. Make sure you're listening to keywords and watch your triggers.
Why do you keep saying listen to the keywords?
Because it's a difference between it's really
to you a trigger.
No. It's a difference. It's a difference between I hear you and you ain't listening. You can actually be listening to somebody say something and your mind is on something else, or you can be watching TV, or you could be on your cell phone. You hear someone's talk, you hear a voice going blah, 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 because that's really what it sounds like. But you're not really listening.
you're not listening to those key words.
You're not listening
triggers.
because if I ask you to repeat something and that person can't, that meant they weren't really listening. I put it like this: give that person your undivided attention. If it gets heated like that, I totally didn't get that. That is a difference between hearing somebody and listening to somebody. If you hear them, you comprehend. If you're listening, that means you just like it's blah blah blah. I ain't really listening. I ain't hear what you said. I know you're talking. Listening and hearing are two different things. And giving someone your undivided attention means you're really listening to them. You are. Hearing is something that sounds.
That makes a big difference because then it shows that you're growing in a relationship.
Right.
Because in the younger days, you're not listening to crap.
Exactly. Can't nobody tell me nothing.
Older in a relationship, you understand what it is that you don't need to be bothered with no more.
Right.
Their stress levels, this
but
different.
What gets me, it's not just the angry black woman, because you hear people say that's an angry black man.
Angry black woman again?
Because no, I said it's not just called angry black woman. They call them angry black men.
From the 60s?
No, but instead of labeling, if you're not going to actually stop saying that. What's wrong with them? Deep down, you be like, something really must have happened to them. Which means stop making assumptions, own up to what part you played into the hard conversation. If you're not going to try to be a resolution, then don't be a problem for anyone else. How about that? Don't make it a problem for anyone else, or don't become a problem for anyone else. In other words, take account, like you said, be accountable for your behavior. And that's how you can resolve a lot of this madness. I just think when it comes to people now, it's so easy with the cancel culture. If someone says this, you canceling this, canceling that. Something's wrong with that person. Something's wrong with that person. And it really needs, the older you get, you know better. And that's what I'm saying. When you know better, you do better. So I thank you for, again, tuning in to Tammy Talk. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely subscribe. And again, you can hear our podcast. Joe Heasy looks confused, but I know he's going to have something else to say. But thank you for sharing your viewpoints, honestly. Yeah, thank you for sharing your viewpoint. Mm-hmm. But the podcast is on Libsyn, Google, and Spotify, and Apple. And again, the blog is on My Cup Runneth Over on Wix. Hey, have a safe holiday. Love you, and thank you again for tuning in.